Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon? As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether these banners are worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. And it's another double Destiny week, so let's dive in. The Heroes of Destiny banner featuring Bozel, Liana, and Luna, and the Meteor Strike banner featuring Vincent, Zerida, and Clarett will both be running from February 17th to March 2nd. As Destiny banners, the first SSR you pull from each is guaranteed to be one of the 3 on-banner heroes you don't already have. After you pop your guarantee, or if you do already have all 3 featured heroes, it's treated as a normal rate up with a 20% off-banner rate. So these are both straight-up reruns with no alterations of banners that have run in the past, so I am going to kind of shoot through them a little bit more quickly than I usually do, but I'm still going to pack a lot of info in here, so let's go. Bozel is an AoE blanket debuff specialist. His unique armor inflicts an additional random debuff on enemies that you damage, and his 3-cost skill is a big debuffing AoE that gets stronger the more times you cast it. He has one of the 2 faction buffs for Dark Reincarnation, giving you a 15% damage boost against enemies who have more than 3 debuffs. The other buff comes from Licorice. He's also a member of Mythical Realm, buffed by Gizarov and the Sage of the Trees. These factions put him on faction for Fenrir in Ancient Beckoning and Leviar in Eternal Temple. As always, he's great against the Ice Dragon and various random challenges. He's still common in Apex Arena as well, even if AoE debuff teams aren't quite as common as they used to be. He unlocks the attack bonds for Ares, Bernhardt, Licorice, Egbert, and the upcoming new character Gustav, and he unlocks the defensive bonds for Patsir, Watham, and Farakia. Liana is a top-tier healer with a bunch of great skills, including the game-changing Act Again. Her 3-cost skill has some additional debuffing utility, but when used as a skill, it gospels your target, heals allies, and removes 2 debuffs in an area around Liana, and it also gives Liana herself 1 turn of debuff immunity, so you're kinda getting 2 gospels for the price of 1. She's a member of Princess Alliance, buffed by Shelfaniel, Luna, and Christiane, Protagonists, buffed by Matthew and Lavina the Great, and Legion of Glory, buffed by Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier. As a top-tier healer, she's excellent against Leviar, Phoenix, Scylla, Needhog, Hugin, and Munin. She's also one of the stronger anti-debuff options in Apex Arena, and of course, Act Again is always a useful tactical threat no matter what. She unlocks the attack bonds for Elwyn, Young Jessica, and Scott. Last up on this banner is Luna. She's a versatile, mobile DPS and team support unit with a talent that reduces your team's magic damage taken, and a 3-cost skill that can boost allies' mobility. Her unique helmet grants plus 15% damage to 2 adjacent allies and increases the span of her talent and 3C auras. She has one of the 3 faction buffs for Princess Alliance, causing you to inflict an additional fixed damage burst equal to 15% of the enemy's remaining hit points. Shelfaniel and Christiane have the other buffs. She's also a member of Origins of Light, buffed by Dehart, Jugler, and Freya, and Strategic Masters, buffed by Altemuller and Lanford. This puts her on faction for Leviar, Phoenix, and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and makes her an excellent pick against Jormungandr, Sleipnir, and particularly Needhog in Ancient Beckoning. She's not as reliable as a PvP DPS as she used to be, but she can still be a good rush support. She unlocks the attack bond for the newly relevant Lewin now that he has his SP class, and the defensive bond for Clarett. Alright, on to the next banner. We're starting off with Vincent. Vincent is a physical AoE rush unit. When he dies, he hits enemies within 3 blocks with an AoE explosion. His 3-cost skill pulls him towards a target, does an AoE burst when he gets there, and brings him back to life with 50% HP if he dies, after doing his talent explosion, of course. His unique armor increases his crit rate for every tile he moves, and strips a buff from enemies when he lands a crit. He's a member of Dark Reincarnation, buffed by Bozel and Licorice, Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rosenseal, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon. He's not a PvE specialist, but you'll see him show up in a fair number of AoE rush teams in Apex Arena. He can engage quickly, and then he's annoying to get rid of because he does damage multiple times when he dies, and he keeps dying. He doesn't roadblock anyone else's bonds yet, but he needs Ilusha for his defensive bond and Kruger for his attack bond. Next up we have Zerida, and Zerida is an assassin. Her talent boosts her crit rate and crit damage and increases mobility if you end your turn outside the danger zone. This is hide and seek. Her 3-cost skill is basically a toggle between her normal Alhazard and Killing Blow skills, opening up a slot for you to run something else. Maybe another copy of Killing Blow. She also has a unique helm that heals her and removes a debuff if she ends her turn away from allies. She's a member of Dark Reincarnation, buffed by Bozel and Licorice, Mythical Realm, buffed by Gizaroth and the Sage of the Trees, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon. If you have no adjacent allies within one space, her faction buff for Meteor Strike increases damage dealt by 10%, lets you move 2 spaces after defeating an enemy, and heals 20% at the end of your action. Again, she's not a PvE specialist outside of general stuff like joint battles, but she has been an on-again, off-again marquee Apex Arena assassin. One of her problems is that there are more long-range threats nowadays, which means she doesn't dominate map control like she used to. There are also enemies who make it difficult to maximize her damage, for example by preventing critical hits. She's still good, but there are a lot of good assassins out there now. She unlocks the attack bonds for Watham, Yulia, and Farakia, and she doesn't need anyone else to unlock her own bonds, just upgrade her classes. Okay, finally we have Clarett. She's a highly mobile, single-target physical DPS. Her talent stocks up unused movement for your next turn. Her 3-cost skill is basically a fancy version of Roar with some extra effects, dispelling buffs before combat, speeding up cooldown on a kill, and boosting damage based on her extra talent mobility. Her unique helm gives her bonus damage and damage resistance when she gets attacked, which isn't great. She's a member of Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, Yeles Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon. This puts her on faction for Leviar, Scylla, and Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and Needhogg and Jormungandr in Ancient Beckoning. She still has a niche place in some single-target rush or mixed boxes as a potential tank hitter, so she's not totally out of the picture in PvP, but she is less common than she used to be. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bonds for Werner and Alfred, and she needs Luna for her defensive bond and Sigma for her attack bond. Alright, so we're just going to jump into the notes for Noobs. Bozel, Liana, and Luna are all broadly useful linchpins. If you happen to summon any of them, you can use them in almost any content, so they're great value summons. Vincent, Zerida, and Clarett are less universally useful and more specialist units. Zerida's probably the best overall generally in this batch, but if you want to play a rush box in Apex Arena, then Vincent is worth summoning too. Finally, just my usual reminder about upcoming banners. This banner marks the end of this EOL cycle, which means next week's major update should see the launch of 2 new characters. The new Ares, Emperor Lavina, and the new Licorice, the Saint of the Ark. Emperor Lavina has a new faction buff for protagonists, so that's exciting for some people. And the Saint of the Ark can hurt your own team. After that, we should be getting a banner with Omega and Christiane, so if you missed your previous chance to pick up a powerful meta tank and Princess Alliance faction buffer, that'll be of interest to some people. Also of note, there was a Record of Lodos War crossover event rerun 2 weeks into this update on the Chinese servers. So that would feature Ashram, Deedlit, and then the free characters Parn and Pirates. Now, it remains to be seen if we'll get the same rerun here in global servers, but there's a pretty good chance we will. As always, it's nice to have another chance to get some extremely limited units, even if they're not as useful as they used to be. So we'll cover that when we have more news. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode, so thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. So shout out to these MVPs: Levitt, Derek Gunderson, William Householder, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Eden Seal, Titan Bradicus, Jerome Meyer, and Shara Ilimerius. Absolute legends.